Hi there, I'm Joanne from TrueAuthenticPower.com from Tapping.me, and I'm also the creator of the program Catapulting to Confidence. I like to share stories of some of the things that I went through because not only was it difficult, but I wasn't finding the right help. And when I was so overloaded in certain parts of my life at certain times in my life, I was not finding the right avenues. Now, maybe they were available, but I want to give you some things of what really would have helped me to know when I was in so much overwhelm and grief and sadness and loss. Okay, so for any of you who don't know, I'm just going to give you briefly. I had long extended caretaking of two people, my mom and my sweetheart Ray, who both ended up being bedbound. I saw some of the things that were happening in care to have them be taken care of somewhere else, and that did not seem good to me at all. And so I ended up taking care of them back to back, and they passed away back to back. So if you've ever taken care of an adult who is bedbound, it is extremely stressful. All the pressure was on me. I had 6 hours of help a week from an outside agency, though I had insurance, and that's all it covered. And to say I was overwhelmed was an understatement. But after they both died, then I realized we thought we had mortgage insurance, which we did not. So I would tell you to check on that if you think you do. I was going to have a car repossessed if I couldn't pay it off. My tree split in half, taking down wires, and my roof blew off in a windstorm. What I'm saying is the hits kept coming, and they were all big. And when you have gone through some shocks or trauma or griefs or sadnesses, those things alone can be significant. But if you pile them on top of each other and you don't have any breathing room to even cope or regroup, it becomes devastatingly overwhelming, devastatingly exhausting. I was physically and mentally just spent. I'm making all these decisions on my own. My loved ones that I could lean on and count on were now gone. There was a property that we needed to sell. I wasn't getting along with siblings. It was a mess, is what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm not telling you for the sob story. I'm trying to tell you how severe it was. And in the middle of that, all I wanted to do was get out of those feelings. I couldn't process all of them. I didn't even know where to start. There were so many. I mean, just name a negative emotion, and I'm sure I probably had it, or it would float in from time to time. And grief does that all by itself, let alone if you pile other criteria on top of it. So I'm dealing with all this stuff by myself. I never, ever had a panic attack in my life. I got some emails that were very threatening to me. They made me shake. It got to the point where it took me 3 days to open up an email that was part of something I needed to pay attention to. Really, it became very severe. And that was not at all my personality like that. Never, ever. I never experienced it. So that in itself is like, what the heck? What's going on here? So much hitting me. And I'm still thinking, okay, I was successful before. How do I get back to that? How do I get back to that? Because that was a feel-good place for me. However, when you have gone through traumas, shocks, deaths, griefs, a lot of people, at least that was my experience, want you to get back into the throes of things, and you got to keep going. And maybe for some people that is the right help. For me, one more thing felt like I'm going to cave and I'm never going to come back up. It was so intense. I can't even, for me, maybe somebody else would have done better with all that. I did not. And because it was so intense and it was so constant, I just didn't have the resources. And at the time, I had learned about energy. I had learned about tapping. I had learned about other modalities. But when you're frazzled, for me, when I was frazzled, I didn't know what to turn to, how to turn it off, how to escape. And I'm here in a house by myself 24/7 with all of those feelings. So I hope you're getting the picture of how intense this was, because what I would have loved to have heard was, I'm sorry, how can I help? That must be so hard. What do you need? Instead, what I got were very, very well-meaning people, and they were listening to what I was saying because I couldn't articulate what I needed. I wanted to get out of this mess. I want to go back to the things that I know that are familiar. And that was, success and making money and those things that were successful in the past, though I couldn't handle at that point in time. It was really over the top. And I wasn't seeing or hearing, and this is my experience. Maybe other people would be different, and I'm sure other people would be different. My energy at the time was speaking, I don't know what the heck to do, and the right help is not coming so that it comforts me. So what was happening was I had very well-meaning people, and I was very appreciative of what they were trying to do, except that it was not what I needed. One very well-meaning friend was trying to tell me of all the things I could do business-wise, the online programs, the this, the that. Okay, so let me just, for me, I can handle a certain amount of technology, but if that's going to become a mainstay of things I have to learn and do, really, no. I'm not built that way. I'm not good that way. I'm much more of a big picture creator, thinker kind of person than the carry out of. And some people are so skilled at that, and I marvel at that, but that's not me. So learning how to do online stuff, programs, websites, tech stuff, social media, oh my goodness. I'm telling you, it was like adding gasoline to a fire. Then I had another friend who was trying to help me, and her mode of helping with energy is to teach the client how to empower themselves. I didn't want to be empowered. I needed help. I needed you to do it for me, not teach me how to do it for myself. It was another critical, well-meaning, but very critical, it did not help kind of feeling. Then there was a third friend, and I led the way to all these people to probably try to help me in the way that they did. I was so overloaded, and that's why I'm doing this audio, because if you are in that space, people will respond to your frantic, help me, I'm drowning energy. And it may not be at all what you need. So the third friend was very much a techie person, engineering brain, very savvy with computers. Like I said before, I can do a lot of things on computers, but not when I'm trying to learn under that kind of distress and learning something I really don't like doing. So you can see I was kind of surrounded by drowning. Then I hear about all the tips and tools of what can get you back on the level, like meditating. Nope, couldn't do meditating. It made me crazy to try to calm down because I'm dealing with 88 million emotions that are over the top for me. I'm trying to run, drown them out, leave them alone. And if I get quiet, no, that did not work for me. And everybody tells you to meditate, calm your mind down. Not when you're in that kind of frantic energy. For some people that may work. It was the total opposite for me. I'm one of those people that I've only taken Benadryl a couple of times in my life ever. But for most people, Benadryl knocks them out and makes them sleepy. Oh no, not this woman. It hypers me up. It makes me come out of my skin. So what I'm telling you is a lot of people may have very well-meaning intentions around you. And when you hit the skids on way too many things that are overloading you, you don't even know what you need. So I'm putting this out because I want people to know some of those well-meaning things. Oh, focus on the gratitude. Are you kidding me? I couldn't even see the light of day, let alone gratitude. And that just, it made it worse. It was like rubbing salt in the wounds because that was not what I needed at that time. When you are going through heavy duty things, or even, a small blip, there may be something that you can do at that time that you can't do at other times. A lot of those things I might have been able to do from the well-meaning friends at different points in time, but not when I was that over the top, not when I was drowning. I needed a lifeboat. I needed someone to say, let me help you and take care of you. And I felt guilty about doing that with saying, that's not what I need because I know they're trying to help me. And yet it's making it 10 times worse. So what I want to say to you is what I needed was to be able to say, I'm in a mess right now, and I don't know how to get out. The interesting thing is that none of those people that were trying to help me had ever been through anything like this severity, where it's one thing after another, after another, after another. And That angered me when one of them was trying to give me advice and they had never experienced anything close to this. And I will tell you, sometimes when people have no idea what you're going through and you don't really want to tell the details because some of them are so horrific, or there's shame about what's going on, or difficulty that's just so over the top, you don't really want to get into details. I'm not blaming them, but what I'm saying is I couldn't explain enough to say I'm drowning. And I wish I had come across some audio, video, something that said, don't worry about meditating right now. Don't worry about being grateful. Don't worry about giving back. That was another thing. I found that so rage producing almost, because it's like, are you kidding me? That's what got me into this mess, by caretaking. I don't want to help another person on the planet. My point is, there are different things that different people need to do at different times. And when someone says blanket stuff, and I've been guilty of some of this, I'm sure I have in the past. This is what you need to do. This is what works, and go for it. I've learned very much a different story, that you need different things at different times. And when you are needing comfort and everybody around you is pushing you, especially into things that you hate doing, or they're not even pushing you, but it feels like that kind of energy, like they're, get with it, come on. What I also noticed was I had a number of people around me who are not emotionally connected. And when someone or people, several people around you are not in touch with their emotions and don't talk freely about them, they have a very hard time tuning into yours. And so, I felt like there was something wrong with me experiencing all these feelings, not being able to move forward. And I wish somebody had been able to say, it's not the time to do that, and help me calm my urgency instead of pushing me to go forward. And how I did calm my urgency was initially with EFT. I did multiple sessions. I listened to online freebies. Anything I could get my hands on that made me feel calmer, even if it's for a handful of minutes. That's what I was doing. TV became my best friend. Sugar became my best friend, which I know sugar hypes you up, but it also helped to shut me down. So did TV. So did loud music. Anything to drown out my thoughts, my feelings, because there were just way too many. Sometimes that's what you need to do. Sometimes you need to say, no, that's not what I need. But a lot of people who get over the top or are used to being a rock to other people, hear me when I say this, I was the go-to. I was the one that people leaned on. And one of the best things that came out of all that is starting to learn to ask for help. I'm not going to say I'm, real comfortable with that still today, but when you're drowning, you need a life raft, you need a boat, you need help. I didn't have the skills to ask for that. And it's okay to receive, and it's okay to be good. But how do you do that when you've been the rock? That's your training. You're the one that provides, not the one that receives. I learned a lot of lessons in all of that. But for those of you who are in the heart of something traumatic, devastating, and it's been one thing after another, especially if it's been one thing after another, your needs of outputting or giving, and this may not apply to you. Maybe those things do comfort you. For me, they did not. And that was the worst advice that I could hear from well-meaning people who were trying to help me. I just want to tell you the other side of the story. It may not be the time to push. You may need stability, and that may mean nothing. Don't teach me anything. Don't expect anything of me. Don't expect that I can comprehend. Don't expect that I can do, be, go, whatever. And you can't necessarily even explain that. So I guess I just want to tell you that. For me, if I had heard some of that of, I'm here for you. We can just sit and be quiet. I'll come over and visit. You can come over and visit. Don't expect me to do anything. For me, that's what was going on. That was not necessarily my personality before all that hit the fan, if you know what I mean. So there's a time for stability and stabilizing your life. And when everything is rocking, or you have many things that are rocking, you might need to do the smallest, most comfortable things that bring you stability moment to moment. And then when you get past that, then you can enter the growth phase. When you're reacting, it's difficult to create and sometimes damn near impossible to create. I wanted it so badly because I thought that was the way out. I didn't know how to cope with such a slew of emotions. So I was going to what had worked in the past, except that it wasn't going to work in that moment. I hope this comforts you. I hope for those of you who are over the top, who are feeling like people are not understanding. You may be sharing with the wrong people. They may have already said to you in ways, I can't help you. I can't go there with you. And if they have said that, you're going to keep going back and hitting a wall because there are only certain people that can be in that kind of emotional place for you, for me, for anybody. And there are certain people that just can't handle it, will not be there for you, don't want to be there for you. And it will only make it worse for you to keep going back to those sources that don't hear you or don't understand you. Or there may be some lessons in that. That's a whole nother kit and caboodle. I just wanted to make a video to try to be, well, an audio in this case, to try to bring some comfort of if you're trying to push past way too many feelings, burnout, overwhelm, being frazzled, feeling like you're on the verge of coming apart at the seams, that is not the time for growth. If you can at all take the time to find some stability in some way every day, many minutes a day, do the online freebies that YouTube has for grief, sadness, panic, overwhelm. There's a slew of them, and those can help in a blink, in the pinch. They're not going to be the long-term fix. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you are having a nightmare or you are waking up hearing a loved one call your name who's passed, you need something in that moment. And when people aren't available, the internet is. So go to the freebies on YouTube. Go EFT plus whatever you're feeling and see what comes up on the search. I hope it helps. I hope it gives you comfort. One more thing I want to say. Years after some of this grief happened, I was never one to think I would go to a support group because I knew energy. Support groups don't talk about energy. And that's kind of what I was convinced. Everything, all of those things and the emotional upsets got my energy so out of whack, so out of balance, repeatedly and so quickly that I wanted to work with people who knew about energy. A support group never felt like the right thing. And a church support group for me at the time, that's another story, was not the thing I wanted. So many years after my stint of grief, I went to a grief support group and I was tapping on my finger points underneath the table because it was a church-based program. And I knew I needed to change my energy. But here was the beauty of that. When you are in a group of people who have just had some kind of severe grief or trauma, you don't have to explain and you feel like, oh, they get it. I don't even have to talk, but they're here if I need to. It's a different kind of comfort because they're in the same realm, going through the same thing. I wouldn't suggest staying in it forever. I would suggest doing some work to change your energy. But in that time, I was so glad I went to a support group. And I'm talking, it was years after the griefs had happened. I compartmentalized and disassociated from a lot of things because I couldn't handle all the different aspects and all the different emotions of things that were happening, all the different events. But when I went to that grief group, one of the things that was extremely comforting to me was a letter that was in the grief book. And I want to give you an idea of what it said because it was so comforting to me. Oh my goodness, I wish I had had something like that. And I want to read you a little snippet of it. This was about people who have passed in that kind of grief, although the facilitator said this could be for any kind of grief, whether you've lost a job or a person or whatever. And I found it extremely comforting, again, like I said. But here was the letter, and this was written by Revell, Revell, in 2006. And it is from a program that I went through. And I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful letter. So here's what the letter says. Dear friend, and in parentheses it says, family, pastor, fellow workers. Recently I have suffered a devastating loss. I am grieving and it will take months and even years to recover from this loss. I wanted to let you know that I will cry from time to time. I don't apologize for my tears since they are not a sign of weakness or lack of faith. They are God's gift to me to express the extent of my loss, and they are also a sign that I am recovering. At times you may see me angry for no apparent reason. Sometimes I'm not sure why. All I know is that my emotions are intense because of my grief. And you could change that to be any grief, loss, devastation, whatever it is that you're going through. If I don't always make sense to you, please be forgiving and patient with me. If I may repeat myself again and again, please accept this as normal. More than anything else, I need your understanding and your presence. Now, there's more to this letter, and if you want the whole letter, you can drop me an email at joanne@trueauthenticpower.com. But my point is, I wish I had had a letter like this or some guidance that I could have not have to speak the words, but could have sent maybe an email or some way to let them know I'm drowning and I don't even know what I need. Right now, I'm such in a, confused state. Please understand. I don't know how to get out of this. So I just thought it was worth sharing all that. For me, those things would have been extremely comforting to hear. No, meditation might make you feel worse. Trying to give or be there for someone else when you're drowning. For some people, maybe that works. For me, it would have made things 10 times worse. Not being able to do certain things, having lack of energy, being confused, being in a muddle, all of that goes with the territory of being overwhelmed from events, traumas, shocks, devastations, griefs. Maybe this will help you. Maybe this will help somebody else. But I know at times I needed stability, not growth. And for those of you going through that, I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. I would strongly suggest to do some energy work on your emotions, on your feelings, on the events. And if they're overwhelming to you, you need to tell that to a practitioner so that they know to kind of sneak up around the bend of helping you process those kind of things. For me, one of the things, I couldn't even go near some of the emotions because some of the events, especially with Ray's illness, were just so horrific to me that I didn't want to process any of those. And there are some tools other than EFT that will help for that as well. So I hope this helps. I hope it brings you some comfort. If you know somebody that can use this or might be comforted by hearing some of this, please pass it on to them. I sure wish I had had this when I was in the muddle and the mess. And for, any of you who are needing stability, I somehow hope that God and the universe will line up to give you that. And maybe this is the first step. Until our paths cross again next time. Bye-bye for now.